In the quiet, sun-baked suburbs of Summerfield, Florida, where palm trees sway lazily under endless blue skies, a darkness festered that no one saw coming. It was April 2011, and the air was thick with the promise of spring, but for 15-year-old Seath Jackson, that promise would turn into a nightmare straight out of a horror film. Seath was your typical teen, lanky, with a mop of brown hair and a smile that lit up his Facebook profile. He loved hanging out with friends, posting memes, and dreaming about the future. But beneath that innocent facade, a toxic romance was brewing, one that would spiral into one of the most gruesome teenage murders in true crime history. Seath's world revolved around Amber Wright, a striking 15-year-old with fiery red hair and a gaze that could pull you in like a siren's call. They met in middle school, two kids navigating the stormy seas of first love. Their relationship started sweet, stolen kisses behind the bleachers, late-night texts filled with heart emojis. But as hormones raged and jealousy crept in, cracks began to form. Amber was impulsive, drawn to danger, while Seath was more grounded, trying to hold on to what they had. Friends whispered about their fights, the kind that escalated from playground drama to something far more sinister. By early 2011, the honeymoon phase shattered. Amber broke things off abruptly, leaving Seath heartbroken and furious. He poured his pain into social media, blasting her on Facebook with accusations of cheating. "You played me," he posted one night, his words dripping with betrayal. Amber fired back, her responses laced with venom. What started as a teenage breakup morphed into a public feud, drawing in their circle of friends. Little did Seath know, this online war was awakening a monster, one that would lure him into a trap of unimaginable horror. As the days dragged on, Amber moved on quickly, falling into the arms of 18-year-old Michael Bargo, a brooding figure with a reputation for trouble. Bargo was older, edgier, with tattoos snaking up his arms and a stare that sent chills down spines. He hated Seath from the start, viewing him as a lingering threat. Whispers spread through their group, Bargo ranting about handling the ex, his voice low and menacing in dimly lit trailers. Amber's brother, Kyle Hooper, just 16, got pulled into the vortex, along with friends like Justin Soto and Charlie Ely. They formed a twisted pack, bonding over shared grudges and dark fantasies. The group gatherings turned from casual hangouts to something out of a slasher movie. At Charlie Ely's mobile home, a squat, weathered trailer on the edge of town, they'd sit around a flickering fire pit, plotting under the cover of night. Bargo, the self-appointed leader, fueled the hate. "Seath's gotta go," he'd say, his eyes gleaming in the firelight. Amber, caught between loyalty to her new flame and lingering ties to Seath, played along. She sent mixed signals, flirty texts to Seath one day, mocking him with the group the next. It was a game to her, but the stakes were deadly. Seath, oblivious to the gathering storm, tried to move on. He confided in friends about the heartbreak, posting cryptic updates like, "Love hurts, but betrayal kills." His family noticed the change, his laughter fading, replaced by a haunted look. Meanwhile, Amber's messages to him grew more insistent. "We need to talk," she'd text, her words a baited hook. Seath hesitated, sensing something off, but the pull of young love was too strong. He agreed to meet, hoping for closure or maybe reconciliation. As he walked out the door that fateful evening, the Florida sunset bled red across the sky, a omen of the blood that would soon spill. Tension built like a thunderstorm on the horizon. The group at the trailer prepared their ambush, hearts pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. Weapons were hidden, shovels, bats, and worse. Bargo paced like a predator, whispering instructions. Amber's role was clear: lure him in with promises of rekindled romance. Her texts to Seath were masterpieces of deception. "Come over, just us. I miss you." Each word a step closer to the abyss. As Seath approached the trailer, the night air hummed with crickets, masking the whispers of conspiracy inside. Inside the dimly lit living room, the air was thick with anticipation. Kyle sharpened his nerves, Soto fidgeted with a hidden gun, and Ely hovered nervously in the background. Amber waited by the door, her pulse racing. This wasn't just a breakup anymore. It was a descent into madness, a teenage horror story where love twisted into lethal obsession. Seath knocked, his voice tentative. The door creaked open and the trap snapped shut. But let's rewind a bit to understand how innocence curdled into evil. Seath and Amber's story began innocently. Enough in the halls of Bellevue, High school. Laughter echoed during lunch breaks, notes passed in class. Yet subtle signs of toxicity emerged early. Possessive arguments. Slammed lockers. When Amber met Bargo at a party, the shift was seismic. He promised excitement, danger. Everything Seath wasn't. The breakup text came like a dagger. It's over. Seath's world crumbled, fueling the rage that would seal his fate. In the weeks leading up, the Facebook battlefield intensified. Seath's posts accused Amber of betrayal. She cheated with that loser. Amber retaliated. You're obsessed. Get over it. Friends took sides, amplifying the drama. Bargo, reading every word, boiled over. No one disrespects my girl, he snarled. The plan coalesced over cheap beer and cigarettes, lure, attack, dispose. Amber's complicity grew, her text to Seath a chilling blend of affection and deceit. As Seath stepped into the trailer that night, the horror unfolded in slow motion. The door slammed behind him, locking out the world. Bargo emerged from the shadows, bat in hand. Welcome to hell, he growled. Seath's eyes widened in terror as the assault began, fists flying, screams piercing the night. But this was only the beginning of a nightmarish ordeal that would shock the nation. The door creaked shut behind Seath Jackson, sealing him in the dimly lit trailer that reeked of stale smoke and impending doom. Amber Wright stood there, her red hair catching the faint glow from a bare bulb, her eyes avoiding his. Hey, Seath said, his voice tentative, hoping for reconciliation in this Florida backwoods hellhole. But the air shifted, thick, oppressive, like the moment before a storm unleashes fury. From the shadows, Michael Bargo lunged like a demon unleashed, his face twisted in rage. A wooden bat swung through the air, connecting with Seath's skull in a sickening thud that echoed through the room. Blood sprayed, warm and metallic. As Seath crumpled to the floor, his world exploding in pain and confusion, Justin Soto and Kyle Hooper joined the frenzy, their fists and feet raining down like a pack of wolves on wounded prey. Seath fought back, his teenage frame fueled by adrenaline, but it was futile against the orchestrated ambush. Why? He gasped, his voice breaking amid the chaos. Amber watched from the corner, her expression a mask of detachment, as if this horror was just another chapter in their twisted love story. The group had planned every detail, lure him with false promises, strike without mercy. Bargo grabbed a .22 caliber rifle, the cold metal glinting ominously. A shot rang out, crack, piercing Seath's leg, sending him sprawling in agony. Blood pooled on the worn linoleum, staining the trailer floor like a canvas of carnage. But Seath's will to survive was ferocious. Despite the bullet tearing through flesh, he staggered up, bolting for the door in a desperate bid for freedom. The night outside promised escape, the crickets chirping mockingly as he burst into the humid air. His heart pounded like thunder, each step a miracle amid the pain. Behind him, the group scrambled, their shouts cutting through the darkness like knives. Bargo fired again, the bullet grazing Seath's head, but incredibly, he kept running until Soto tackled him to the ground, dragging him back into the abyss. The trailer door slammed once more, this time locking out any hope of salvation. Back inside, the horror escalated into pure savagery. They forced Seath into the bathtub, his body slick with blood and sweat. His pleas echoed off the tiled walls. Please stop. But mercy was a foreign concept in this den of teenage monsters. Bargo, eyes wild with bloodlust, demanded they break Seath's knees to fit him into a sleeping bag. The crack of bones was nauseating, a sound that would haunt the survivor's nightmares. Amber's brother Kyle assisted, his hands trembling yet compliant, as if peer pressure had morphed into possession. Soto held Seath down while Charlie Ely hovered nearby, complicit in the silence. Another shot, final fatal, rang out, ending Seath's suffering in a pool of crimson. The deed done, the group stared at the lifeless form, the reality of their actions sinking in like ice water. But there was no turning back. Disposal was next on their macabre agenda. They dragged the body to the backyard fire pit, the Florida night alive with fireflies oblivious to the atrocity. Gasoline splashed, flames roared to life, consuming flesh and bone in a hellish inferno. The smell, acrid, choking, wafted through the air, a grim perfume of death. Hours passed as they tended the fire, poking at the remains like campers gone mad. What was left of Seath, charred fragments, was shoveled into 5-gallon paint buckets, the kind used for mundane home projects, now vessels of horror. As dawn threatened to break, they loaded the buckets into a truck, driving to a nearby quarry under the cover of fading stars. The remains splashed into the water-filled pit, sinking into murky depths hidden from the world. Back at the trailer, they scrubbed away evidence, bloodstains. Ash convinced their secret was safe. Amber texted friends nonchalantly as if nothing had happened, while Bargo boasted in whispers about his victory. But secrets like this don't stay buried. Cracks in their alibis began to form almost immediately. Seath's family, frantic over his disappearance, started asking questions, their worry turning to dread. Whispers spread through Summerfield like wildfire. Seath's Facebook page filled with concerned posts. "Where are you, bro?" His mother, Sonia, reported him missing, her intuition screaming foul play. The group, high on adrenaline and fear, stuck to their story. Seath ran away, they claimed. But inconsistencies piled up. A suspicious burn mark in the yard. Odd behaviors at school. Detectives zeroed in, piecing together the digital trail of texts and posts that led straight to Amber and her crew. The horror wasn't over. It was just shifting from the crime to the chilling unraveling. In the days that followed, guilt gnawed at some like Charlie Ely, who cracked under pressure. Confessions trickled out, painting a picture of jealousy-fueled madness. Bargo, the ringleader, remained defiant, but the noose tightened. This teenage love gone lethal had claimed not just one life, but shattered many, leaving a scar on the community that time couldn't heal. As investigators dug deeper, literally, into the quarry, the full extent of the brutality emerged, shocking even hardened cops. As the Florida sun rose over the quarry's still waters, hiding Seath Jackson's charred remains in its depths, the facade of normalcy in Summerfield began to crack. Seath's mother, Sonia, paced her living room, her intuition screaming that something was horribly wrong. His phone went straight to voicemail, his Facebook silent for the first time in days. She filed a missing persons report that morning, her voice trembling as she described his last known whereabouts. Heading to meet Amber Wright. Detectives from the Marion County Sheriff's Office descended like shadows, piecing together the digital breadcrumbs. Flirty texts from Amber, heated Facebook rants, and whispers of a feud involving Michael Bargo. The investigation kicked into high gear, a slow-burn horror unfolding in interrogation rooms that smelled of stale coffee and desperation. Charlie Ely, the 18-year-old trailer owner, was the first to crumble. Hauled in for questioning, her wide eyes betrayed the guilt gnawing at her soul. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, she confessed in halting whispers, the lure, the ambush, the shots that echoed like thunder. "It was Bargo's idea," she sobbed, describing how they burned the body to erase the evidence. Her words painted a vivid nightmare. Seath's pleas ignored, his body broken to fit a sleeping bag. Ely's plea deal later reduced her charge to second-degree murder. But in that moment, her confession was the key that unlocked the crypt. Kyle Hooper, Amber's 16-year-old brother, followed suit, his teenage bravado shattering like glass. He detailed the backyard bonfire, the acrid smoke that clung to their clothes, and the frantic drive to the quarry. Detectives dredged the site, pulling up paint buckets filled with ashes and bone fragments, a gruesome puzzle confirming the horror. Justin Soto, 20, added more layers, admitting to wielding the bat that crushed Seath's spirit before bullets ended it. Each confession built the case, revealing a pack mentality where jealousy morphed into monstrous acts. Bargo, the ringleader, remained defiant, his cold stare and mugshots a chilling portrait of unrepentant evil. Amber Wright, the siren at the center of the storm, was arrested days later, her red hair disheveled as handcuffs clicked shut. In the squad car, she maintained an eerie calm, but cracks showed during questioning. Prosecutors labeled her the bait, her texts to Seath a deadly web spun from lingering affection and new loyalties. Her first trial in 2012 was a spectacle of horror, witnesses recounting the screams, the smell of burning flesh. Found guilty of first-degree murder, she was sentenced to life without parole. But the nightmare twisted further. An appeal tossed her taped confession, citing coercion, granting a retrial in 2016. The courtroom became a stage for reliving the atrocity, with Sonia Jackson testifying through tears about her son's final days. The retrial amplified the dread, as details emerged of Bargo's obsession, kissing Amber in front of Seath's house weeks before, fueling the fatal grudge. Amber's defense painted her as manipulated, a victim of Bargo's influence. But evidence mounted, her role in the lure undeniable. Jurors, haunted by crime scene photos of the blood-soaked trailer and quarry dredge, convicted her again. Judge Anthony Taddy sentenced her to life once more, his gavel echoing like a death knell. Kyle received 40 years, Soto life, and Bargo the ultimate penalty. Death row where he awaits execution, his appeals dragging on like a never-ending nightmare. Yet the horror lingered beyond the verdicts. In 2020, Charlie Ely walked free after 9 years, her plea sparing her a full trial, a controversial release that stirred outrage in Summerfield. Social media erupted with debates. Was justice served? Or did teenage impulsivity excuse the inexcusable? Seath's family grappled with grief, his memory a ghost in their home, while the perpetrators' families fractured under the weight of shame. The case became a cautionary tale, whispered in high schools about how love can curdle into lethal obsession. As years passed, the story faded from headlines but etched itself into true crime lore, resurfacing in documentaries and podcasts that dissected the psychological abyss. What drove these teens to such depths? Jealousy, peer pressure, a toxic brew of hormones and hate. Seath's ashes may rest in the quarry, but his spirit haunts the narrative, a reminder that in the shadows of young love, monsters can lurk. The investigation closed one chapter, but the terror of what humans, especially the young, can do to each other endures. Years after the gavel fell, the ghost of Seath Jackson lingers in the humid air of Summerfield, Florida, a spectral reminder that teenage hearts can harbor unimaginable evil. Amber Wright, now in her late 20s, rots behind the cold bars of Lowell Correctional Institution, her life sentence a chain that binds her to the night she lured her ex into oblivion. Appeals have come and gone, her 2014 retrial victory short-lived, crushed by a 2016 reconviction that sealed her fate. No parole, no redemption, just endless days staring at walls that whisper accusations. Michael Bargo, the puppet master of that fateful night, sits on death row at Union Correctional, his 2013 death sentence upheld amid failed appeals, the electric chair or lethal injection looming like a shadow over his defiant smirks. The others? Kyle Hooper, Amber's brother, resentenced in 2017 to 40 years after. Supreme Court rulings deemed mandatory life for juveniles unconstitutional. He'll taste freedom in his 50s if he survives the guilt. Justin Soto serves life without parole, his role in the beating a permanent scar on his soul. Charlie Ely, the trailer's owner, walked free in 2020 after a plea deal shaved her sentence to 9 years, a decision that ignited fury in Seath's family, who saw it as a slap in the face of justice. How can she be out while my son is gone forever? Seath Jackson lamented in interviews, her voice cracking like thunder in a storm of grief. But the true horror extends beyond prison walls, seeping into the digital realm where the case lives on. Podcasts dissect the interrogations, Amber's tearful confessions, Bargo's chilling boasts. Documentaries on platforms like Netflix and YouTube replay the nightmare, with titles screaming "Teen Love Turns Deadly" and "The Summerfield Slaughter." Social media buzzes with theories. Was Amber a victim of manipulation or the architect of doom? Reddit threads in our true crime pulse with debates. She was only 15, but that smile in court, one user post, attaching a screenshot of Amber's eerie grin during sentencing, an image that chills to the bone. Seath's family battles the void daily. Sonia founded a foundation in his name, advocating against teen violence, turning pain into purpose. He was full of life, dreams, she shared in a 2023 podcast, her words a dagger to listeners' hearts. Yet nightmares plagued them, visions of the fire pit, the quarry's murky depths. The community, too, bears scars. Abandoned trailers avoided like plague houses, whispers of curses on that cursed ground. Experts weigh in. Psychologists label it a perfect storm of jealousy and groupthink, where social media amplified hate into homicide. Facebook feuds can kill, one profiler warns, citing the posts that fanned the flames. As the case fades into true crime infamy, similar horrors emerge, teen killers lured by love, like the Slender Man stabbing or the Jennifer Pan conspiracy, reminding us that youth's innocence is fragile. What if Seath had ignored that text? What if someone intervened? These questions haunt, an endless loop in the mind's dark corners. Amber's last known words in court: "I'm sorry." But was it genuine? Or another layer of deception? Bargo's appeals drag on, potentially into 2025 or beyond, keeping the wound open. In the end, Seath Jackson's story isn't just murder. It's a cautionary horror tale of how love's shadow can devour the soul. As the Florida sun sets on another day, The quarry's waters remain silent, guarding their secrets. But in the night, if you listen closely, you might hear echoes, screams, laughter twisted into madness, a reminder that some evils never truly die.